Greetings, my dear friends, and welcome to another episode of Reading Epic Threads. I'm your host, Patrick Gunnels, joining you from Houston, Texas. Today is March 12th, 2025 at 8:03 p.m. Central Daylight Time, and I don't have any daylight outside right now. I do, however, have a new studio, and I am now live for all of you wonderful folks. So let's start off with, I told everybody that we were going to do Joe Lange's America for Sale Part 3. That doesn't come out till Saturday. I didn't read carefully. So we're gonna have fun together anyway, since we're live. I just realized this. No wonder it wasn't up. So I guess that's just how that works. But thanks to the brilliant Zach Payne, I have the ability to turn on studio lights from my smartphone. If I'm doing it right, and I think I'm about to be doing it right. I have to turn on my Wi-Fi. But I haven't seen y'all live on this platform in a while, so I hope you'll share with your friends. Right now, I am on Rumble. I am live on Rumble. I am live on X. I'm even live on YouTube, which is completely weird. You should check out my YouTube channel, Reading Epic Threads. You can go there right now on YouTube. I'm even live on Substack. Normally, I only go live on Substack in a show that I call Behind the Threads. But bam. Okay, so that's just me turning lights on with my phone. Got to admit, that's really cool. I think it's really cool. Zach Payne hooked me up with this stuff, and thanks to Zach. I'd like to thank those of you who are watching. For example, we have somebody on my YouTube channel watching me right now. The name being These Are the Voyages in Hashtag the Quantum Vortex. Good evening, brother. And good evening to you as well. Queen of Hearts on X. I missed you back. It's just nice to be here. I'm getting everything all set up. Obviously, the angle and the little honeycomb pattern and stuff, it's got some work to be done. My sister-in-law and her fiance are in the storage room of this office right now, working on assembling a beast of a computer for me. So I'm pretty excited about that too. But the actual purpose of today's show was, well, we're gonna muddle through though, because I've got some great stuff for you today. For example, we've got the brilliant Eric Carlson, and Eric Carlson has been talking about the Smith-Mundt Act. I think we're going to get to that, of course. You know that psyops go both ways. We'll get to that, of course. But so just do me a big favor, guys. If you are currently watching on Rumble, personal favor, go ahead and hop into the chat and let me know that it's working, because I haven't been going live for so long. It's so silly. Okay, so I got all 90 of you watching right now. Hit the like button if you please. And, I'm here to answer any questions that you might have about what's been going on. And we're going to have ourselves a good old time. I had a great time on the Joe Rambo show today, talking to Joe, and then Beer at the Parade, and then Burn Notice. Cognitive Carbon was there. There was Sapioplex. There was JF Anon. It was a really good time. So check that out on Rambo and Friends. It's just a great time over there. Curtis Good, the Woodlands, Texas. What is up, my friend? Zigzag 5x5, Captain Guy 0. It's nice to see all of you. So one of the things that Burn Notice asked, Burn is from Australia. Let me set this up so my vibrator doesn't go, the vibration doesn't go off. All right, there we go. I'm going to be starting a crypto show on this channel. My co-host is Stephanie S., working on her stage name, of course. But it has, UI Terra Maga, hi. Full Moon, finally getting my dose of Patrick for the first time in way too long. I'll watch on Rambo too. Miss you, Patrick. Miss you too. I missed so many of you at Vegas. I didn't get a chance to go. I have, of course, completely separated from Badlands Media for various reasons that involve a combination of creative differences and a need to work more exclusively on my independent stuff. One of those independent things that I work on on an extremely regular basis, some of you might not be aware of, is Tulip Blooms, the skincare lines that we have been putting out faster than you can say blueberry pie. And one of our products is called Rainfall. Now, Rainfall is the best lotion that the world has ever known. It has a healing, all-natural aloe base and a concoction of food-grade plant oils, all refined organic. And these plant oils include some amazing things. They include argan oil, amaranth oil, refined organic, castor oil, refined organic, babassu oil, refined organic, evening primrose oil, rosehip oil, hemp seed oil, big source of chlorophyll, a little bit of vitamin E oil, and then for the scented, so you get the essential oils. This is the rose gold that I'm using right now. Long story short, you put this on your skin, it doesn't feel heavy or oily. It makes dead skin slough away as well. And it's like a healing balm for sunburns and eczema. And it's amazing. You got to go to tulipblooms.shop. Read all the 5-star reviews, not to mention the incredible Epic Moisture Creamy Body Butter. This one's Happy Hippie, which is a combination of lime and patchouli. But this, once again, all refined organic. You have kokum butter, you have shea butter, you have mango butter, and then the oils being amaranth, apricot kernel oil, argan oil, babassu oil. It's just, guys, these things are amazing. And of course, now we have the amazing aloe cleanser, which is a cucumber-based product, which has a cucumber extract in it. It's amazing too. Go to tulipblooms.shop and use promo code Shapiro for 10% off. Guys, now's the time. Not to mention the fact that once summer starts getting close, like in Houston, May is summer. The body butter will not be shipping anymore after that. We're going to skip the summer because the heat of the summer melts the body butter. And if you melt it, then you got to do this whole thing where you really melt it and then you rapidly cool it so you can get it back to the right consistency. If you order the body butter now, it'll arrive in just great shape. We put on thermal wrapping around it and everything. If you get it in the dead of Houston's summer, it's going to melt. Nobody wants that. So we're going to pause shipping on the body butter for basically all of the summer. So get your body butter while you can. And then, of course, the absolutely inimitable castor blend, which is 40% castor oil, but another mixture that takes the amazing powers of sea buckthorn fruit oil and amaranth oil and argan oil, apricot kernel oil. It takes away the stickiness of the castor oil, but it gives you the power of castor oil as well. UI Terra Maga says, I use the body butter and Rainfall, and I can't overstate the benefits my skin have seen: age spot lightening, wrinkle reducing, skin smoothing. Can't wait to get the castor blend. You can call me Tara. What's up, Tara? Thank you very much for the plug. And I will tell you this. One of the effects of rosehip oil, which is in Rainfall, and gosh, a lot of these oils have the lightening of age spots as one of the effects. Sea buckthorn fruit oil, which is in the castor blend, also has one of those effects. Sea buckthorn fruit oil is powerful. It contains palmitoleic acid, otherwise known as omega-7, which you're not going to find in many other plant oils. But anyway, today is not a Joe Lange day. Today is more of an Erik Carlson day. We may get to some Martin Geddes. We're going to get to all sorts of stuff because my dumb ass didn't read when he was going to come out. We're going to do some Seth Keshel as well. We're going to start with Erik Carlson. But I was talking to Burn Notice on the show. And one of the things he asked was if I could do the Fox in Socks super tongue twister. And as you probably know, I don't do things in 2 takes or 3 takes or 4 takes. I'm a 1-take guy. I did glance at this, but I never tried to read it out loud. But it's called Fox in Socks. And I'm not going to cheat. I'm not going to pull a bait and switch and try to play a recording of me doing this. So this is not, and I repeat, it is not going to be perfect. But Burn Notice requested that I read this, so I'm going to do it. This is called Fox and Socks, a tongue twister for super children by Dr. Seuss. Fox, socks, box, knocks. Knocks in box, fox in socks. Knocks on fox in socks in box. Socks on knocks and knocks in box. Fox in socks on box on knocks. Chicks with bricks come, chicks with blocks come, chicks with bricks and blocks and clocks come. Look, sir, Mr. Knox, sir, let's do tricks with bricks and blocks, sir, let's do tricks with chicks and clocks, sir. First, I'll make a quick trick brick stack, then I'll make a quick trick block stack. You can make a quick trick chick stack. You can make a quick trick clock stack. And here's a new trick, Mr. Knox. Socks on chicks and chicks on fox, fox on clocks on bricks and blocks on knocks on box. Now we come to ticks and tocks, sir. Try to say this, Mr. Knox, sir. Clocks on fox tick, clocks on fox talk. 6 sick bricks tick, 6 chicks talk. Please, sir. I don't like this trick, sir. My tongue isn't quick or slick, sir. I get all those ticks and clocks, sir, mixed up with the chicks and talks, sir. I can't do it, Mr. Fox, sir. I'm so sorry, Mr. Knox, sir. Here's an easy game to play. Here's an easy thing to say. New socks, 2 socks. Whose socks? Sue's socks. Who sews? Whose socks? Sue sews. Sue's socks. Who sees who sew whose socks, sir? You see Sue. So, Sue's new socks. Sir, that's not easy, Mr. Fox, sir. Who comes? Crow comes. Slow Joe Crow comes. Who sews Crow's clothes? Sue sews Crow's clothes. Slow Joe Crow sews whose clothes? Sue's clothes. Sue sews socks of fox in socks now. Slow Joe Crow sews knocks in box now. Sue sews rows on Slow Joe Crow's clothes. Fox sews hose on Slow Joe Crow's nose. Hose goes, rose goes, nose hose goes some. Crows, rose grows some. Mr. Fox, I hate this game, sir. This game makes my tongue quite lame, sir. Mr. Knox, sir, what a shame, sir. We'll find something new to do now. Here is lots of new blue goo now. New goo, blue goo, gooey, gooey, blue goo, new goo, gluey, gluey. Gooey goo for chewy chewing. That's what the goo goose is doing. Do you choose to chew goo too, sir? If, sir, you, sir, choose to chew, sir, with the goo goose chew, sir, do, sir. Mr. Fox, sir, I won't do it. I can't say it. I won't chew it. Very well, sir, step this way. We'll find another game to play. Bim comes, Ben comes. Bim brings Ben broom. Bing brings Bim broom. Ben bends Bim broom. Bim bends Ben's broom. Bim's bends. Ben's bends. Ben's bent broom breaks. Bim's bent broom breaks. Ben's band, Bim's band, big bands, pig bands. Bim and Ben lead bands with brooms. Ben's band bangs and Bim's band brooms. Pig band, boom band, big band, boom band. My poor mouth can't say that, no, sir. My poor mouth is much too slow, sir. Well, then, bring your mouth this way. I'll find it something it can say. Luke Luck likes lakes. Luke's duck likes lakes. Luke's luck licks lakes. Luck's duck licks lakes. Duck takes licks in lakes. Luke Luck likes. Luke Luck takes licks in lakes. Duck likes. I can't blab such blibber blubber. My tongue isn't made out of rubber. Mr. Knox, now, come now. You don't have to be some dumb now. Try to say this, Mr. Knox, please. Through 3 trees, 3 free fleas flew. While these fleas flew, freezy bleeze blew. Freezy breeze, mad these 3 trees freeze, freezy trees made these trees cheese freeze. That's what made these free fleas sneeze. Stop it, that's enough, sir. I can't say such silly stuff, sir. Well then, Mr. Knox, sir, let's have a little talk about tweedle beetles. What do you know about tweedle beetles? Well, when tweedle beetles fight, it's called a tweedle beetle battle. And when they battle in a puddle, it's a tweedle beetle puddle battle. And when tweedle beetles battle with paddles in a puddle, they call it a tweedle beetle puddle paddle battle. And when beetles battle beetles in a puddle battle, and the beetle battle puddle is a puddle in a bottle, they call this a tweedle beetle bottle puddle paddle battle puddle. And when beetles fight these battles in a bottle with their paddles, and the bottle's on a poodle, and the poodle's eating noodles, they call this a muddle, puddle, tweedle, poodle, beetle, noodle, bottle, paddle, battle. And now wait a minute, Mr. Sox Fox. When a fox is in the bottle where the tweedle beetles battle with their paddles in a puddle on a noodle-eating poodle. This is what they call a tweedle, beetle, noodle, poodle, bottles, paddled, muddled, duddled, fuddled, wuddled, fox in socks, sir. Fox in socks. Our game is done, sir. Thank you for a lot of fun, sir. Now is your tongue numb? What? Thank you for sitting through that. Judy French. Hi. So I got through that, and now let's actually do Erik Carlson. Don't forget, tulipblooms.shop. Promo code Shapiro for the best skincare products in the world, and epicminerals.net for the Zeolite Extra Spray with humic and fulvic acids. It binds to toxins everywhere and helps you stay healthy. And it makes me dream better. Makes a lot of people dream better. And then the colloidal silver, epicminerals.net, promo code Shapiro. All right. Let's get this party a-going. By the way, go to readingepicthreads.substack.com to check out live shows every single day. From badlands.substack.com, The Smith-Mundt Act, Psyops Go Both Ways by Erik Carlson. As is probably the case with most everyone reading this, I was excited to see which executive orders and policy changes President Trump would make on his first day back in office. Which destructive Biden policies would Trump reverse, and how quickly would he reverse them? Which Biden reversed policies Trump made in 2017 would Trump get back in place? As we've seen, he's made a lot of changes, and he's still making a lot of changes, maybe even exceeding our expectations in regard to pace, effectiveness, and breadth, including some things we hadn't even considered. Many of the doubters have been shut up. Those who feared, believed, or propagandized that Trump wouldn't follow through on the things he promised he'd do have slowly backed into the bush to disappear like the Homer Simpson meme. Their voices aren't as loud as they once were. Their audience is no longer listening to them. They'll have to find or create something else to fear or propagandize others to fear. It's becoming extremely difficult to come up with anything to complain about anymore, to use in criticizing Trump and his allies. Any criticism now is just nitpicking, but the black-pilled, the controlled opposition, the neocons, rhinos, and liberals won't give up. The sincere doubters are broken, stuck in a rut of negativity, and the insincere are corrupt and fighting for their existence. When I think of executive orders that I was excited about, vastly increasing domestic oil production again makes sense. Eliminating DEI policies and regulations is an easy choice. Taking an axe to the Department of Education can't happen soon enough. But at the same time, I realize the pushback Trump will get and how the left will try to spin it. The deep state has been excellent at disguising their money laundering and mind control operations as being something good. It's how they've been able to get such buy-in and why so many are resistant to change. There's a long list of policies that need to change quickly, but one thing that I haven't heard anyone else mention is getting the Smith-Mundt Act of 1948 back up and running, the act that was put in place in 1948 to keep the American government from using propaganda on Americans. Now that I think about it, why didn't Trump put the Smith-Mundt Act back in place his first time around in office? It makes sense that he would have done this on January 20th, 2017. He had 4 years to do it, and he never did it. He's been in office for over a month, and it's yet to happen this term as well. Curious to say the least. I kind of let the cat out of the bag in the subtitle. Psyops go both ways. The logical answer for Trump not reinstating the Smith-Mundt Act is that he wanted to use propaganda on the American people, but in this case to remove the control the media has on them and to take down the deep state. Technically speaking, knowingly allowing the American people to believe that a person with dementia was actually running the country from 2021 to 2025 is propaganda. Before we get ahead of ourselves, we should probably take a step back and define what the Smith-Mundt Act is and how propaganda has been used in the past, with great success. Sigmund Freud had a nephew named Edward Bernays. Bernays is known as the father of public relations, PR, and modern advertising. He took what he learned about the human brain from his uncle and applied it to the influence and manipulation of individuals and societies. In 1928, Bernays wrote a book called Propaganda, in which he described how propaganda can be used to control whole societies. But he goes one step further and states that propaganda is not only a useful tool for control, but that it is completely necessary in maintaining a healthy society. Interestingly, Bernays had a nephew who went on to be a founding executive of a little streaming service called Netflix. Ta-da! What are the odds? It's plain to see that the control we find ourselves under today started generations ago and is a family business. Take a look at the families of people like Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, and Jeff Bezos, and you quickly realize that their origin stories aren't quite what we've been told. During World War II, propaganda was used very successfully by the Americans and the Brits to win the war. MI6 puts the CIA to shame, as everything the CIA knows comes from MI6 and British think tanks like the Tavistock Institute. During World War II, the US had a propaganda agency that it used on its own people, the Office of War Information, OWI. According to Wikipedia, in 1942, President Franklin D. Roosevelt created the Office of War Information, OWI. This mid-level agency joined a host of other wartime agencies, including the War and State Departments, in the dissemination of war information and propaganda. Officials at OWI used numerous tools to communicate to the American public. These included Hollywood movie studios, radio stations, and printing presses. End quote. In short, propaganda was created to inspire Americans to join and support America's involvement in World War II. Propaganda was also used to create and amplify hatred towards the enemy through exaggerated and false claims of the enemy's cruelty and barbarism. During World War II, the U.S. military had a psychological operations unit as well. According to Wikipedia, psychological operations, PSYOPs, are operations to convey selected information and indicators to audiences to influence their motives and objective reasoning and ultimately the behavior of governments, organizations, groups, and large foreign powers. The purpose of United States psychological operations is to induce or reinforce behavior perceived to be favorable to U.S. objectives. They are an important part of the range of diplomatic, informational, military, and economic activities available to the U.S. They can be utilized during both peacetime and conflict. There are three main types: strategic, operational, and tactical. End quote. This PSYOP unit could be used to spread misinformation to the enemy, leading to confusion. It could mean using inflatable tanks or airplanes to fool the enemy into believing the U.S. military had more firepower than they really had, or that they were attacking from another direction or building up strength in another area. This PSYOP unit could be used to demoralize enemy militaries and their citizens. It could even be used to overthrow governments or government officials from within enemy states. The use of PSYOPs and propaganda was found to be a very effective tool during World War II, a tool that should be used with care. Following the war, it was determined that it should be still used against foreign enemies or potential enemies, but it should never be used on the American people themselves. Now, on to the Smith-Mundt Act of 1948. According to Wikipedia, the U.S. Information and Educational Exchange Act of 1948, Public Law 80-402, popularly called the Smith-Mundt Act, was first introduced by Congressman Carl E. Mundt, Republican of South Dakota, in January 1945 in the 79th Congress. It was subsequently passed by the 80th Congress and signed into law by President Harry S. Truman on January 27, 1948. The act was developed to regulate broadcasting of programs for foreign audiences produced under the guidance by the State Department, and it was prohibited that domestic dissemination of materials produced by such programs as one of its provisions. The original version of the act was amended by the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act of 2012, which allowed for materials produced by the State Department and the Broadcasting Board of Governors, BBG, to be made available within the United States. End quote. In other words, from 1948 to 2012, U.S. government and government-controlled media propaganda could be used on foreign enemies, but it couldn't legally be used on the American people. For 64 years, it was illegal for the U.S. government to use propaganda on its own citizens. This doesn't mean it didn't happen, as through Operation Mockingbird, the CIA has never stopped controlling and propagandizing the American people using all forms of media. But by amending the Smith-Mundt Act in 2012, the Obama administration made it legal to propagandize the American people again. Between 1948 and 2012, propaganda on the American people was like speeding. It was against the law, but unless you were very blatant about it, you wouldn't be caught or punished. One likely isn't going to be pulled over for going 3 miles over the speed limit. In other words, by only altering the truth a little. Before this, the Smith-Mundt Act somewhat kept the media in check. While many of the lies were big, it kept the media's lies from becoming parody-like. This was actually not a good thing, in that the American people trusted and believed the media because they appeared believable. In 2012, it was like removing all speed limits, and now allowed the media to operate free of any legal ramifications. The only thing the media had to contend with was the loss of their audience. If you exaggerate lies, if you lie and exaggerate, it shows extreme bias, and you do that often enough, you're going to lose all credibility. Eventually, they lose their audience. This is exactly what happened since 2012. 2012 is when fake news really took off. It was like steroids were being injected into political correctness, wokeness, affirmative action became DEI, LGB became LGBTQ+, transgender bathrooms became a hot topic overnight, moderate conservatives were now portrayed as right-wing extremists, recyclers became climate activists, supergluing themselves to roads and blocking people from driving to work. Everything became more extreme, and common sense seemed to disappear. Men could now menstruate. It was determined that people could be born in the wrong bodies. Overnight, everything got crazier. Everything was amplified. Resistance to the new way of thinking wouldn't be tolerated. Not only was the media and social media being used to push forward propaganda, but they were also used to stomp out, maybe even stamp out, any resistance to the changing cultural values. Pre-2012 values and beliefs were now toxic and dangerous to society. Freedom of speech was now a dirty word. So, why hasn't Trump reenacted the Smith-Mundt Act of 1948, making it illegal again for the American government and media to propagandize the American people? The only thing that makes sense is that propaganda has been and still is being used to take America back, to wake Americans up, and to defeat the deep state cabal. Propaganda by the government-controlled media is still waking Americans up. Allowing propaganda to be used has painted the media and deep state into a corner from which they cannot escape. Allowing propaganda is like providing your enemy with enough rope to hang himself. If Trump had reenacted the Smith-Mundt Act during his first term in office, the media's lies probably would have become more toned down, more subtle. The liars would have become more believable. The pre-2012 media didn't seem to exceed enough Americans' tolerance limits for fake news. The post-2012 media caused the majority of Americans to reach their boiling point. The media have been lying to Americans their whole lives. And it wasn't until the past decade, or even less in some cases, that many Americans finally said enough is enough and finally lost any trust or faith in the media. Allowing the deep state the ability to destroy itself through propaganda is one aspect of the plan. But only a fool would believe that Trump and his allies haven't been using propaganda directly as well. It has been used to set traps, to shake the bush, to see what scampers out. It has been used to make the Biden administration turn Democrats into Republicans. If Trump had a group overseeing the Biden administration through a continuity of government act, devolution, propaganda had to be legal to allow the Biden administration to masquerade as being in complete control. Does anyone really think that Biden handpicked Rachel Levine and made her a 4-star admiral? In the U.S. Public Health Service commissioned corps, becoming the first openly transgender 4-star officer in any of the United States uniformed services, as well as the first female 4-star admiral in the commissioned corps. There is no way that Rachel Levine wasn't handpicked by Trump to embarrass the Biden administration. Dressing Levine up in a 4-star admiral's uniform is comedy gold. I don't think people give Trump enough credit for his comedy genius. There is no way a Chinese spy balloon slowly floated across the whole United States without being shot down, or that mysterious drones flew over the Northeast for weeks with no one in the media or the Biden administration knowing whether they were friend or foe. This is beyond unbelievable. Have you seen the video of the U.S. Air Force cargo plane evacuating people from Kabul, Afghanistan during the fall of Kabul in 2021? It is clear to me that the plane was an inflatable plane, similar to the inflatable tanks and planes used during World War II. Look at the windows of the plane. They look like they're made of black, Glad garbage bags. People walked in front of the massive jet engines without being sucked in. They really weren't trying that hard to fool us. And let's not forget about the people clinging to the landing gear who fell to their deaths as the plane climbed in altitude. Trump couldn't help himself. Now, CGI some guys falling from the sky, lol. Who had Hamas attacking Israel with flying go-karts on their bingo card, or an angry lover attacking Nancy Pelosi's husband with a hammer, angry male lover, or Biden crapping himself in front of the Pope, or Elizabeth Warren finding out that she is less of an Indian than the average American, or Eric Swalwell being caught having an affair with a Chinese spy named Fang Fang. What are the odds that Zelensky was a comic actor before he became the president of Ukraine? Recently, Trump paraded around Larry Ellison, Sam Altman, and Masayoshi Son, discussing America's commitment to building out its AI infrastructure. The use of AI for mRNA cancer vaccines was mentioned, infuriating many in MAGA and bringing much more attention to the project and the importance of AI infrastructure. The next week, China's DeepSeek came out. Later, Elon Musk and his 4-year-old son spent the day in the Oval Office showing their great relationship, and shortly afterward, a conservative influencer claimed Musk is the father of her 5-month-old child. You can't get ahead of a story if you don't already know that story is coming. This is propaganda. It may not be as obvious as inflatable tanks, alien invasions, false accusations of rape or wrongdoing, but it's still propaganda. The whole Biden administration was a psyop used to wake people up, a psyop used to give Trump an overwhelming majority in the 2024 election. More than 70% of Americans now approve of Trump gutting the federal government and its corrupt and wasteful slush funds. This 4-year psyop, as painful as it was to endure, was necessary to get America to where it is today. As a result of this very successful psyop, the deep state is being systematically dismantled with very little pushback from the American people, real people. Slush funds and programs and departments are being shut down. Corruption is being exposed and stopped. None of this would be happening if it had been a business as usual changing of the guard, one party replacing the other for 4 to 8 years. It is happening only because the American people have been propagandized so hard and so obviously that they finally woke up. The Smith-Mundt Act likely won't be reinstated until the mission is complete, when there is no real need for propaganda any longer. When the Smith-Mundt Act is reenacted, we will know the preponderance of Americans are now awake. When the Smith-Mundt Act is reinstated, we will truly know the game is over. And that's Erik Carlson from badlands.substack.com. Yeah. Good piece there. You can also find him at erikc.substack.com. And I'll clarify a couple things. Some of you might have been saying to yourselves, Trump can't reenact laws. It's true. What is not true is that Trump cannot direct the State Department not to engage in propaganda. If the State Department doesn't engage with propaganda, then the Smith-Mundt Act is effectively reinstated during that president's term, and then the next president, if he desires, can simply revoke that executive order. But, you know, it's a distinction without a difference for all intents and purposes. All right. What else we got, y'all? So Seth Keshel has been on an absolute tear lately. And I'll tell you why. It's because we now have Trump back, right? The first thing I thought to myself was, and this is what I thought to myself, was if we get our desired winner, not winner, but our guy, there's no winner in an election if the election is fake. Fine, nifty, great. Trump was allowed to win the fake election. Okay, now that you've won the fake election, we have to figure out how we get back to having real elections. And that's why election integrity is literally everything. Can't do without it. Can't live without it. So Seth Keshel has been just burning it up lately. And that is why I'm going to go to skeshel.substack.com. That's right, y'all. You probably got 2 pieces here. Yep. This is called, get ready, y'all. This is skeshel.substack.com. That is skeshel.substack.com. Just for fun. I wonder if it'll let me change the whole title of the article of the episode, because I mean we need to face it right now. There's no piece to write to read from Joe Lange. So anyway, guys, huge favor, if you please, hit the thumbs up. Wow, there is a dude named Trump Crotch Rot whom I have just muted. Guys, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up on this video. Very, very important that you do that. Share this video on Rumble if you can. Check out readingepicthreads.substack.com, where you will find a show called Behind the Threads, where I am live streaming from Substack pretty much every day. I'm live streaming from Substack right now. Let's see here if I can find it for my... I don't know where I'm live on Substack, but I should be live on Substack right now. I just don't exactly know how to find it myself. I go to home. I don't know. But I sometimes will read, books of the Bible. I'm working on a piece called Thomas Massie, A Trojan Horse for the Deep State. Ooh, you know what I can read to you? I can read to you a very short thing written by Alpha Warrior about Thomas Massie, because we've got a rather enormous number of Massie lovers, including lovers of Massie whom I consider to be friends and great people. But they've been taken in by this doughy little bastard. And I don't have a problem with doughy people. I'm a bit doughy myself. Wow, this guy Trump Crotchrot's a real asshole. That was jacked up. But the piece is not a piece, it's actually a Twitter thread. And so I'll pull it up at X, and it is Alpha Warrior, who kind of really knocked it out of the park when it came to this freaking Thomas Massie based in red pilled. All right. Alpha. Also, big hat tip to Ash in America. If it hadn't been for her responding to it, I wouldn't have noticed. But the gist was, she said, this was so good that I want to make him a sandwich myself. This is great. Okay, so Alpha Warrior is going apeshit on Thomas Massie, and that makes me really happy. So we're going to start with this one. And just for grins, I'm going to check the chat just to make sure that Trump Crotchrot isn't talking. Divining Rod 555, PNW stands for Pacific Northwest. Hey, thanks for hitting the thumbs up. We've got 196 of you watching right now. It is 8 p.m. Share it on Twitter if you can. I've actually got more people watching on Twitter than I do on Rumble, which is not the best thing in the world. Okay, here we go. Alpha Warrior on X. And the actual, his handle is X Alpha Warrior X. If y'all really want to understand what's happening with Thomas Massie, let me break it down for you, simple enough to follow. Ron DeSantis is an establishment-controlled tool. Back in early 2021, I warned you about the red flags. The deep state was setting up a Gavin Newsom versus Ron DeSantis presidential ticket. Many of you, especially MAGA, got mad at me. How can you say that? DeSantis running against Trump won't happen. DeSantis is pro-Trump. But I laid out the pattern step by step, and y'all didn't want to hear it. Just like now, when I'm calling out Massie. Then 2023 hit. DeSantis did try to take the nomination from President Trump, exactly as I said he would. Thankfully, many of you had the self-respect to admit Alpha told us this would happen. Now let's connect the dots. Who was riding shotgun with DeSantis and his establishment-backed campaign? That's right, Thomas Massie. This isn't about continuing resolutions or budget fights. This is about Massie backing the establishment. He bet on DeSantis, thinking that DeSantis would win, and it would secure him, Thomas Massie, a cushy spot in the new administration. Fast forward to now. What's the deep state trying to do? Undermine Trump's momentum as we approach the timeline to set up midterms. How? By orchestrating a government shutdown and then blaming Trump for the economic fallout. They want to manufacture a crisis, use it as a weapon against Trump, and strip away his political allies one by one. Meanwhile, Trump is exposing their money laundering operations right in front of us by using Doge, and they hate it. And while all this is happening, America's enemies are positioning themselves to take control. But some of y'all are so fixated on hating just Israel that you miss the bigger picture. Israel isn't the only government with influence over DC. China controlled a U.S. president with Biden. And beyond that, we've got the military-industrial complex, big pharma, and hostile foreign nations all fighting to pull the strings of power. Yet, some of you only focus on one piece of the puzzle instead of seeing the full board. Here's what's at stake. The American people gave Trump a mandate. He's responsible for delivering on that mandate. Anyone who tries to block him is suspect. Period. Massey, DeSantis, and the deep state want to give Republicans just enough wins to keep them hopeful, but not enough wins to empower Trump. They want to undermine his movement while positioning themselves for a takeover in 2028. This isn't about principle, it's about power. What's their end game? A DeSantis-Massey presidential ticket, locking out anyone Trump would support as his successor. They want to control the post-Trump GOP and ensure the establishment regains full dominance. This isn't checkers, folks, it's chess. Wake up. All right, well, I don't like telling people to wake up, because sometimes I don't know who's awake. But think about this, guys. The Armed Gardener says, hi, Patrick. Hello, the Armed Gardener. What is going on? Good to see you. Hit the thumbs up on this video on Rumble and share it on Twitter, share it on Rumble, share it all over the place. And let's see, I've got 350 of you watching on Twitter and 6 of you watching on the YouTube channel. Even though YouTube tries to make it completely impossible to find me. So I think that's awesome. Thomas Massey was right by Ron DeSantis. Thomas Massey was right there denying election fraud, really denying election fraud, using a ridiculous, specious constitutional argument after the fact. But when it counted, when it mattered, he made sure, no, I never heard of nothing like that. No election fraud. Ron DeSantis, the guy who was walking around in retard boots. Remember the retard boots, right? They were retard boots. Those were not platform boots or boots that would make him taller. They were boots to make him look like a retard. They were boots that were specifically designed to make people go, what's wrong with his freaking boots? No, that's deliberate. So what I think is that Massey was either a humiliation ritual or Massey was a honeypot for people like Ron, or people like Thomas Massey. But no normal political consultancy would allow a political candidate to be that big of a friggin' booger for the entire tenure of his presidential campaign. DeSantis was an embarrassment from beginning to end. He was clownishly awful. That's on purpose. And that dude, for real. That is my story, and I'm sticking to it. I really think that that's what it is. All right, guys, did you know that once April winds down, the Epic Moisture creamy body butter containing refined organic butters and oils, including amaranth, apricot kernel oil, and of course, the amazing argan oil, plus shea butter, kokum butter, and mango butter, a little bit of vitamin E oil for preservation, but no, unnatural preservatives are required for this. It preserves itself, but the heat melts it. So when the Houston summer hits, we're going to pause shipment of the Epic Moisture Creamy Body Butter. So now is your chance, guys. Go to tulipblooms.shop, order your creamy body butter right this second. Don't wait, and make sure to use promo code Shapiro. That's right, promo code Shapiro for 10% off. And when you use that promo code, I know that you get the joke. You're in on it. Okay, now there appears to be somebody in the chat who is trying to promote a website. That's not allowed. All right, we'll do the Seth Keshel stuff. Hey, Kelsey Gunn says, I came over here from Rumble just to give you more likes. Love your reads, Patrick. Thank you, Kelsey Gunn. What an amazing thing to say. And we have very similar last names. Yeah, you could check me out. I'm reading Epic Threads on YouTube. That's right. Reading Epic Threads. All right. So big thanks to Alpha Warrior for a barn burner of a thread. And then, oh, wait, you know what, though? He did some more stuff. I'm going to read the next one. Hang on. Wait, pro tip. Wait a minute. It's a little condescending to tell people pro tip, but hang on. Woo-hoo-hoo. All right. But I do enjoy the fact that he begins this one with, this one is going to hurt some simps. Thomas Massey sucks, guys. He sucks big donkey balls. Here we go. Alpha Warrior on X. This one's going to hurt some simps. Fact check time. So, in 13 years, Thomas Massey has failed to author a single bill that became law. Yet his supporters are out here attacking Trump for not arresting politicians in 50 days. The hypocrisy is off the charts. These people will make excuses for Massey's decade plus of zero results, but demand instant action from Trump's team. Y'all better wake up. I don't actually say things like y'all better wake up. This ain't checkers, it's chess. All right, I don't say stuff like that. This is a really good picture of Thomas Massey, though. That's how I feel about him. All right. And then I've got a pro tip. Got another pro tip. Why is it that almost all, or maybe all, of the Clubhouse crowd are Massey supporters? Strange how there was a massive migration from Clubhouse, I don't know what Clubhouse is, to X. Strange how most of them ended up as gatekeepers of X spaces. Almost like, never mind, conspiracy thoughts. Okay. Here we go. From Captain K. It's the Captain K's Corner. It's skeshel.substack.com. The clock is winding down on nation-saving election reform. 3 key reasons why. Trump's win, while historic, isn't enough to save the country from long-term decline. While the other side seems defeated, they are much closer to checkmate than legitimate trends suggest. By Captain Seth Keshel. That's skeshel.substack.com. Follow him on Substack. Do a paid subscription if you can afford it. I posted 2 articles in the past 5 days describing Pete Sessions' Make Elections Secure Again, MESA legislation, with the first regarding the 5 key pillars of the proposal, the second taking a fine-tooth comb to the inner workings of the bill and relating them to what I call the 8 cardinal sins of election maladministration. I am told my outlines of the MESA bill have been forwarded to the top of the chain of command, so naturally I'm hopeful this bill doesn't sputter out and flop dead amongst all the chaos present in the world today, especially tied to foreign relations. The bill isn't perfect, but it's close. The only real debate to be had is the one surrounding who should be in charge of reforming elections, the states or the federal government. In a textbook, I'd say the states, under their freedoms established in the 10th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Unfortunately, those freedoms have been abused, and blue states have constructed a system of elections that is easily identifiable as the main reason these states vote as one unanimously blue bloc over and over again. That system, once fully malignant, thrives on automatic voter registration, universal or expanded mail-in voting, ballot harvesting, and iron-fisted control over how much time there is for early voting and late counting. Remember what it is that makes states permanently blue. Don't take what I'm about to say as me airing personal grievances of a sense of entitlement. I have noticed subtle signs that while Trump's true base of support still has an axe to grind over the 2020 election, the wider Trump-supporting electorate doesn't seem as filled with urgency to overhaul the election apparatus now that he maneuvered his way through one of the worst, most gamed election systems in the world. I can tell by the lack of momentum by Republican-led state legislatures in putting strong election bills together, and by my own schedule. In 2022, I traveled over 271 days for work, hitting 48 states and speaking sometimes at 5 events in a week. This year, I've spoken at exactly 1 event in Vero Beach, Florida on February 3rd. I'm still widely read here and have broken into some new audiences in recent months, but events are often linked to the agendas of the various county Republican Party leadership committees, and they had election integrity high up the list when we were crawling around in the dark trying to get him back in office. What I'm saying is that there is a real danger that we will either miss the boat entirely or come up far short of where we need to be in terms of amending how we do things in terms of elections if GOP leadership continues to revel in Trump's win, but forgets the down-ballot disasters that stretched all the way into December and remains ignorant on the severe electoral manipulation caused by widespread mail-in balloting and corrupted voter registration, along with a host of other items that are spread across all states, such as a non-transparent electronic elections infrastructure, aka the machines. I've heard through multiple avenues that Trump is planning to act in some capacity, perhaps through executive orders, which will be challenged, and have proposed that the American people urge their representatives to support the Mesa bill and that the president form a formal election reform committee. Still, the clock is ticking, with precious little time to impact the 2026 midterms. Here are the top 3 reasons the key action steps for election reform must take place either now or never. 1. They are also nearing checkmate. Sure. If we are talking fair elections, the Democrats and their coalition are slipping so badly they are on the precipice of electoral extinction. They no longer control the white working class that flipped the Midwest to Trump and no longer command the overwhelming majorities of minority voters, especially men, that require overwhelming white male margins for Republican nominees. These trends are apparent not only in data from the 2020 and 2024 elections, but also in ongoing party registration trends. The country, thanks to the Electoral College, still affords Democrats their pockets of support, and those pockets are sizable. Harris still managed to win 226 electoral votes, 83.7% of what she needed, thanks largely to the fortification of the West Coast and New England, with only a couple blue islands in between. All it would have taken for her to win would have been her 226 votes plus Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. Georgia or Arizona plus Nevada could have replaced Michigan, but you get the point. Josh Shapiro, by executive fiat, changed Pennsylvania over to automatic voter registration out of the blue in September 2023 to give Joe Biden a fighting chance to hold the state, which he had no business carrying in 2020 to begin with. Michigan is the most corrupt state of all battlegrounds, with its 83% of the population registered to vote at the time of the 2024 election, when only 77% of any state's population is over the age of 18 and therefore eligible to vote. Georgia is one of the only states I'm legitimately worried about, thanks to the growth of Metro Atlanta and its established problems with elections over the past several cycles. And we are all about to experience the joy of Wisconsin elections all over again with next month's Supreme Court race. If you've had your eyes open for more than 2 minutes, you are also familiar with the games played out west in Maricopa County, Arizona, and the week of the steady drip, drip, drip of mail ballot counting in Nevada's 2 largest counties, which contribute 7 of every 8 votes statewide. We can have good polls and voter registration gains all we want, and my predictions last year show they do matter. But the ingredients for what makes states blue eventually mature in due time and lock states down for good, like the elusive star of the North, Minnesota. As close as we are to having them outvoted, They are just a few turns of events away from getting into power in the wrong states with the wrong legislators and governor who will push for automatic voter registration already in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Georgia, and Nevada, universal mail-in voting, Nevada, ballot harvesting, legal in Nevada, but practiced in all of the key states with weeks to get it done. Trump got through it in 2024. But is everyone a Trump? Read on. 2. The next GOP nominees aren't among history's most famous people. Have you ever read a biography of someone from history you greatly admire? I just finished Ron Chernow's Washington, A Life, an 800-plus page read into the life of our first president and the hero of the American Revolution. I've often asked myself what it would have been like to see him ride past on horseback dressed in his blue uniform. Americans today live in the age of a different historic figure, one whom the Americans of 2150 will look back on and wonder what it was like to have watched in action, up close and personal. Trump has been a worldwide name for a long time and is universally acknowledged and loved and hated by billions of people. His legendary 2024 survival displays jail dodging and resounding victory and redemption cycle vaulted him from American icon to worldwide legend. One of the most famous people in world history since Christ himself walked on earth. This wouldn't even be met with skepticism from Trump's biggest haters. Herein lies the problem. No one, not even rising star J.D. Vance, will possess even 1/10 of Trump's own gravitas and charisma, with billions of people around the world repeating phrases like bigly or you're fired or wearing MAGA shirts and hats as daily attire choices. How many millions of votes did Trump win in 2024 that he wasn't being counted on to win by the election riggers that are directly creditable to the likelihood that many Americans made it to the point in which they didn't want to look back on time and realize they passed on Trump 3 elections consecutively? Another reason Vance should be hoped for in 2028, considering none of Trump's children are in the same position to run for president without further development, is because he's the closest thing to Trump by virtue of being the vice president who is currently throwing haymakers on the world stage. After that, what do we have? I couldn't imagine being Joe Conservative standing up and running for president once Trump waves farewell. These run-of-the-mill Republicans, especially those who don't have much appetite for a fight and will drop electoral reform the moment they're called racists, will only have a fighting chance if elections are made into serious events, once again, that are conducted with a modicum of integrity and credibility. 3. Citizens deserve a seat at the local government table. I've written over and over again, I can describe in great detail what I believe the impact to electoral votes and U.S. House or Senate representation was in any of the 2020, 2022, or 2024 federal elections where applicable, but in no way can I even begin to piece together what was disrupted down ballot in any coherent order. Remember, state legislatures and governors are the ones who make the laws that provide for good, fair, or poor election laws. Then there are the sheriffs, the county tax assessors and supervisors, the superintendents of education, attorneys general, secretaries of state, and other elected officials who thrive or suffer down ballot depending on who is trying to control what is at the top of the ticket. I've heard from more candidates for down ballot offices than I can count that their election went far from the mark they had expected when collaborating with their respective campaign staff members, and unfortunately can do little to help them when elections are a 10-week free-for-all in a state like Washington. We watch the presidency because it is the most prominent office, not only in the United States, but in the entire world, thanks to this magnitude and owing to the poor civic understanding of many modern Americans. It can become easy to neglect the understanding that all government is intended to be local and focus only on the top spot. All citizens deserve local government that represents those who live in that jurisdiction and should not be subject to the whims of bureaucrats who have no way of proving they made it into power legitimately. Elections must be repaired immediately to restore balance to every layer of government in the land. Conclusion. I will beat the election integrity drum until I'm deaf in my one good ear. This piece does not reflect any belief that President Trump isn't going to act on elections, but it is intended to spark a fire under the U.S. House and Republican-run state legislatures to get busy pushing common sense reforms that restore transparency and credibility to elections. The fight to restore order in this critical facet of American civil life is a time-sensitive one that must begin immediately if it is to have maximum impact in fixing this corrupted system. Go to skeshel.substack.com, skeshel.substack.com. Hey, JC Bird in the house. What is up, my friend? Let me go check the Rumbles and all that stuff. Rumble rants. Oh my gosh. JC Bird just gifted 5 subscriptions, and then 0 O'Clock just gifted 5 subscriptions. This is awesome. I really appreciate it, guys. That is really appreciated. Gifting subscriptions. I need to find out what that means. I haven't actually been in a position to monetize my Rumble channel in quite a while because where I've been working, I've been throwing all my energy into Badlands. So I need to find out what that means, but it sounds amazing. Thank you so much for the gifting of subscriptions. Okay, so I'm going to delete this tweet saying I'm going to read his latest. There we go. Okay, you know who I'm really enjoying? I'm on Twitter. A guy named Adam Townsend, Adam Scrabble on Twitter. He is consistently awesome. I enjoy him. So that's one guy. I'm going to be putting together a crypto show soon, and it's going to be awesome. Trying to figure out when to do it, what's a good time slot for a crypto show. It's going to focus on the technology itself rather than personalities or grandstanding. Well, you know how it gets. We got more people in the chat. I love this. Okay, so we've got in the chat, Yorko7, 0 O'Clock, Epstein did not kill himself, Corey DD84, Captain Guy 0, Corey D, we had Jarhead Pig. Haven't seen you in a while. That is awesome. I love seeing you guys here. I really do. It makes me want to do this live stuff way, way more often because it was such a good feeling. When I first started live streaming, guys, I was on YouTube and I would have like 400 people watching just on YouTube. Now I've got 5. Now I've got 409 watching on X, which is nice. And on Rumble, I've got 260. So I have a ways to go. There's no question about it. People need to find out, yes, I'm doing live streams again. But, it takes a little bit more time than that. All right. So I want to do more stuff. I don't know what else to say. I'm enjoying myself right now. And it's just nice to be here with all of you. So I'm going to keep on going. I hope that's okay. Share the stream if you would. And even now, my super awesome computer is being constructed in the background. Okay. You know who I haven't read in a while? In fact, it's been so long since I've read him that I haven't been to his Substack in such a long time that I feel kind of like a jackass. One second, I'll find it. I'm sure. There we go. Of course. All right. Let's see here. Let's do one from Brent Cates, from Dwayne Cates. Part of that is because he's not feeling so good, and I want to wish him a speedy recovery. Same with his wonderful brother Brian. Let's do one from Brian too. It's just been a while. All right. So this, let's see, what's his latest piece called? February 25th. All right, here we go. Blow it up. This is from February 25th, so it's been a few weeks, but it's okay. A real Thunderdome. This is BrentCates.substack.com. A real Thunderdome. Doge versus the DC kleptocracy. Spoiler alert, we win hard and they lose everything. The Doge effect is now competing with the Trump effect. Trump's Department of Government Efficiency has been operational for less than a month, and already the DC power corridors are shaken to their core. After Elon and about a dozen young engineers laser focused on a federal agency called USAID, the United States Administration of International Development, and revealed a long-hidden fourth branch of government the DC denizens had created to provide themselves complete obscurity and unaccountability from which they were robbing and controlling us unmercifully. They empowered that bastion of NGOs with a direct conduit of unchallenged payments directly from the payment system of the U.S. Treasury. That has been in place for decades. Elon has revealed that payment system run by Treasury officials had never refused a payment asked of it. Ever heard the phrase license to steal? These jackals created, staffed, and ran a hidden branch of the U.S. government to fund their overthrow of that government. Elon and President Trump are talking about clawing back over $2 trillion stolen taxpayer dollars, from which they are contemplating giving every American taxpayer a $5,000 Doge dividend check. This debate has caused many of the GOP wing of the Uniparty and a bunch of fake-ass MAGA influencers to pop up and shout that it is a very bad idea. GOP kleptocrat, stop giving away my money. If $2 trillion can be clawed back, how many trillions have been successfully stolen? It must be over 100 trillion. What oversight! And even though the loudest and angriest DC denizens appear to belong to the DNC, I assure you that this monumental and historic thievery they hid from us behind waste and incompetence included many of the GOP. Just think to yourself, how long has this been going on? Yup, we're totally incompetent. Your money just went down the crapper. Ha 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 ha, poof. And know that for decades, our checks and balances, including oversight, were being conducted by the R versus D puppet show as they robbed us blind. Elon and Doge's leaping upon USAID right out of the gate caught them all flat-footed and out of position. Think November 2016. Allow me to explain why. The shot felt round the world. Trump had been daring these ghouls to kill him for years. And in Butler, Pennsylvania, on July 13th, 2024, our enemy went all in, a carefully planned, set up, and initiated inside job, complete with a patsy a la Oswald, who would conveniently die on sight. Orders had gone out. Personnel carefully placed, cameras at the ready to capture every gory moment of Trump's and MAGA's inevitable downfall for the elite's later enjoyment at one of their parties. Letting us know all hope to change America's disastrous course was over, as orchestrated, astroturfed acts of violence sprang up overnight to avenge our fallen hero. The government would be forced to lock down and punish MAGA and America first, as all of their assets from Antifa to Patriot Front would be wreaking havoc in Trump's name, dressed in MAGA gear, just like January 6th. None of that happened, because the man didn't die from their JFK-style headshot. Now, hear me clearly. After their perfect setup missed, they had no plan B. All of their money and marbles were used setting up their attempt in Butler. In the same way, they never thought she would lose. They were supremely confident Donald Trump was going to be removed. Think back on those last few months leading up to November. They had nothing to counter Trump politically because those in the know had assumed he would be dead. America first would be back on its heels under relentless attack by DC and the vile shitbag media. This is why Trump sailed into that overwhelming mandate in November. Never place all of your stolen eggs in one basket. So the Uniparty began to prepare Plan C to ride out Trump 2.0's 4 years, all the while sabotaging and using lawfare to sandbag Agenda 47 as much as possible until they could figure out how to regain control. Do you see it yet? That fourth branch of government comprised of 10,000 plus NGOs was going to be instrumental in achieving that. So in Puddinhead Joe's last weeks in office, those who were actually running the White House began hiding hundreds of billions of taxpayer dollars and shifting key personnel around to batten down the hatches for the Trump storm they now knew was inbound. And then Doge pounced. They never saw it coming until it was happening. From their reaction upon realizing what was unfolding, the DNC wing of the Uniparty instantly panicked and provided us with optics we'd never dreamed possible. For 3 solid weeks, we have borne witness to the left standing up to defend waste, fraud, and abuse by never saying what Doge found, only how terrible, illegal, and dangerous Trump and Elon are for derailing their corruption-fueled gravy train. Trump and Elon have positioned themselves so perfectly. Their blitz on the DC kleptocrats is forcing them to react in a desperate attempt to stop what is happening before the Trump-Elon gambit cheered on by 77 million plus robbery victims snowballs completely beyond their control. Spoiler alert, it is already beyond their control. These DC dinosaurs are completely out of their element. And it's only going to get worse. And now, as Doge is being focused on by the DC Uniparty, the other out-of-control branch of government, the judiciary, with its plethora of ultra-liberal activist judges, leaps to the defense of their now exposed NGO shadow government. President Trump's executive order to declassify the assassinations of JFK, RFK, and MLK Jr., as well as the Epstein files, is about to be released in the very near future. 2 weeks tops. Sorry, that didn't age well. These shitweasels have run out of their usually abundant time, energy, and focus to stop any of it. Even the numerous stays on Doge and Trump's executive orders are just that, stays, meaning pauses only. In trying to stop everything President Trump is doing, they are ending up stopping nothing. Look at Schumer's face. For the good of the nation, Trump offered peace. Chuck sneered at Trump, thinking him doomed with no future. And who told you from day one of Pelosi and Schumer's contemptuous rejection of Trump's genuinely offered olive branch in 2017 would end up costing these decrepit thieves and charlatans everything? I did. They want it all. Everything you got, all of it. Your homes, your land, your money, everything. What they had managed to steal over the past 60 years was not enough. They had to take it all. They have no one but themselves to blame for the fated outcome I saw clearly 8 years ago. They pushed Trump and us to this pass. They demanded all or nothing. So now they're going to get their richly deserved nothing. This is the truest of Thunderdomes. Two sides enter and do battle. Only one side leaves. If you've paid attention to detail, you're familiar with Trump 1.0's Executive Order 13818. With the stroke of a pen, President Trump gained the power to freeze and seize the assets of persons involved in serious human rights abuses or corruption. Couple that with Doge's determination to claw back trillions from where these government gangsters have hidden our money, and then couple that with President Trump's newly created sovereign wealth fund. Are Trump and Elon's intentions coming into focus? I predict by the time we are on the other side of these events, the compensation every American household has received will top 5 digits. Over a century of diabolical and merciless abuse suffered by us, our parents and grandparents, is about to be redressed as the spoils are ripped from the grasping claws of those I now call the cult. And now, the status of America's gold supply at the U.S. Treasury located in Fort Knox, Kentucky is being spotlighted. Elon is now talking of live streaming his audit of Fort Knox, accompanied by the U.S. military's commander-in-chief. That's the president. Can you imagine any subordinate rank, and all members of the U.S. military would be subordinate ranks, trying to tell the commander-in-chief he can't enter a U.S. military facility? Checkmate. Before these ancient kleptocrats can mount even a moderate defense of the last outrage committed by Trump or Elon, Doge is off goring another of the shadow government's sacred and unaccountable cows. And say it with me, it's only going to get worse. When Doge exits from this Thunderdome, the DNC will no longer be a viable political party. By the end of Trump's official second term, I predict no one county, state, or federal will even want to be associated with the Democrats. The GOP will survive, but only because Trump has been filtering out the worst of the worst uniparty hacks since 2017, and the new America-loving GOP will be rebranded as the America First Party. We have 18 months to fix our utterly corrupt and broken elections, expose, indict, and try those responsible for a century of crimes against humanity, clean out, then rebuild trust in U.S. federal law enforcement, recover the reputation, lethality, and efficiency of the U.S. military, address what is ruining the health of all Americans that is causing so many to suffer from chronic illnesses, especially our children. I say we will do all of this with a will, and most effectively by the time we celebrate our 250th year as the greatest nation on earth. Excelsior. That's Dwayne Cates. You find him at brentcates.substack.com. That's brentcates.substack.com. I want to give a big thank you to, let's see here, hang on a second. Okay, so, wow, dude, did you do that? Okay, no, I'm figuring it out. Okay, never mind. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Do me a huge favor. For those of you watching on Rumble, hit the thumbs up if you could. Share it. Do all the things. Hitting that thumbs up, enormously helpful. You can't imagine how freaking helpful that is. Now, those of you watching on X, just retweet this stream if you could. And Vicky Herman, who's watching on YouTube, says, thanks, Patrick. It's been great having you reading again. It's my absolute pleasure. I missed this a lot. And we've got 450 of you watching on Twitter right now. 4 of you watching on YouTube. I would love to figure out a way to get people to watch on YouTube. It's a perfectly good platform. It's just controlled by shitbags. All right, now I'm going to find an article about the tyranny of judges because it's important, beyond important. Don't you worry for a second. I know exactly where to look. Hat tip to Baldylocks. Sharing this article, Eco loves you. So I'm going to read this. It's an X article. How do you like that? All right. This is from X. Eco loves you. EKO loves you. Good behavior. Judgment comes. The Constitution never promised judges lifetime appointments. It promised them something far more dangerous. Their seats would last only as long as their good behavior. Today, that behavior shattered. A federal judge ordered corruption to continue. From CBS News, judge directs Trump officials to comply with earlier order halting funding freeze. A federal judge in Rhode Island said Monday that the Trump administration has not complied with an earlier order that blocked its freeze on federal assistance and ordered agencies to immediately restore any paused or withheld dollars during continuing legal proceedings. No metaphor, no exaggeration, pure fact. When DOJ exposed that 60% of NIH grant money vanishes into overhead, a rate that would bankrupt any private enterprise, they moved to fix it, to bring it down to 15%, to stop the hemorrhaging of taxpayer dollars. The judge's response: mandate the waste to continue. From CBS News, judge blocks Trump administration's move to cut billions in NIH scientific funding. The cuts would drastically cap funding for universities, research institutes. A federal judge temporarily blocked the Trump administration's move to drastically lower some of the funding that universities and research institutions receive from medical and scientific grants. Consider the implications. Not interpreting law, not protecting rights, not settling disputes, just raw protection of systematic fraud. But that was merely the opening salvo. In Rhode Island, Judge McConnell revealed something more sinister. After channeling $700,000 into Democratic campaigns, including direct contributions to senators who confirmed his appointment, he didn't just rule against reform. He commanded the President of the United States to continue routing money through compromised channels. From turn10.com, NBC, judge in Rhode Island upholds halt on Trump funding freeze following appeals court ruling. Federal judge in Rhode Island reaffirmed Wednesday his order halting the Trump administration's funding freeze. The new decision from U.S. District Court Judge John McConnell comes after the First Circuit Court of Appeals in Boston late Tuesday declined to overturn McConnell's temporary restraining order as the Trump administration asked. More than 20 state attorneys general, co-led by Rhode Island Attorney General Peter Nerona, sued the Trump administration in January to stop a widespread funding freeze to various programs nationwide. McConnell first issued a temporary restraining order putting the freeze. You get the idea. No constitutional authority, no jurisdiction, no legal precedent, pure system preservation. Watch the pattern emerge. Judge orders evidence of fraud destroyed. Yes, a liberal judge ordered immediate destruction of all data obtained by DOJ since Trump's inauguration. In other words, to destroy all evidence of fraud and corruption during the Biden administration. Conceals his wife's USAID connections. USAID, the swamp is deep. One of the activist judges blocking Trump's agenda, Judge John Bates, is married to the founder of a USAID-funded NGO. Carol Rees is a Democrat lawyer who started Hope for Children in Ethiopia, a longtime USAID grant recipient. Openly admits to ideological hiring practices. This is from Nathaniel Eliasson. He's also a senior judge. That means he just has to do 25% of the work, but he gets a full staff and full salary. Doge should analyze senior status. It's a complete ripoff of the taxpayer. Each action more desperate, each order more revealing. An activist judge forgetting what Article 3 actually guaranteed them. Because when federal judges actively shield waste and fraud, you're not witnessing mere corruption. You're witnessing terror. But they have every reason to be terrified. The pattern emerges with devastating clarity. Federal judges aren't merely protecting fraud. They're embedded within the very systems they're tasked to oversee impartially. Consider Judge John Bates. His wife, Carol Rees, founded Hope for Children in Ethiopia, a direct recipient of USAID funding. Not recusal, not disclosure, just calculated protection of family interests. When Doge moved to expose systematic waste, Bates didn't interpret law. He ordered the president to restore payments linked to organizations with whom he's ideologically aligned. But Bates represents just one node in a vast network. Judge McConnell's actions are more brazen. After investing $700,000 to secure his seat, funneling campaign contributions to the senators who confirmed him, he's now trying to shield the Department of Education, where his daughter holds senior position, from critical reforms. When Doge demanded an audit, McConnell blocked them. When they sought accountability, he mandated silence. The web spreads wider. A Massachusetts judge blocked oversight while protecting flagged systems. From Rhode Island PBS, Massachusetts judge temporarily halts Trump NIH cuts nationwide. Judge Angel Kelly of the U.S. District Court in Massachusetts has temporarily blocked a major policy change announced last week by the National Institutes of Health that would have substantially reduced payments to universities, hospitals, and other research institutions. A Colorado judge claimed jurisdiction over D.C. matters, attempting to disqualify a presidential candidate despite clear constitutional limits. November 17th, 2023, a Colorado judge finds Trump, quote, engaged in insurrection, but keeps him on the ballot. That was NPR. 3 separate judges ordered evidence destruction within 24 hours of Doge discoveries. USAID money flows thicker than justice. Department positions prove more binding than constitutional oaths. Political investments yield more than influence. They guarantee protection. The scope of embedded interests exceeds anything we anticipated, the president's press secretary Caroline Leavitt revealed today. Not rhetoric, not politics, pure recognition of a system architected to make accountability impossible. Every ruling protecting waste, every order blocking reform, every decision shielding fraud, they serve one purpose: preserve the machine. Until now. Because when judges forget their constitutional constraints, they don't just breach their oaths, they expose the structural decay at the Republic's foundation. And sunlight is proving to be the most effective disinfectant. History's warning. History whispers warnings through Article 3's carefully chosen words. In 1804, Congress attempted to remove Supreme Court Justice Samuel Chase. His alleged crime? Harsh rulings against Jeffersonians. His defense? Judicial independence. He survived, as he should have, because political disagreements aren't crimes. Differing interpretations don't constitute corruption. Judicial independence means protecting judges who read law differently, even when their decisions enrage the powerful. But this crisis transcends interpretation. These aren't rulings about law. These aren't disputes about precedent. These aren't questions of judicial philosophy. These are direct orders to perpetuate proven fraud, commands to maintain documented waste, demands to destroy evidence before investigators can access it. The founders oversaw this moment and foresaw this moment. That is why they deliberately avoided writing lifetime appointment into the Constitution. Instead, they inserted something far more potent: good behavior. Not a ceremonial phrase, a loaded weapon, not a suggestion, a requirement, not protection, a threshold. From constitution.congress.gov, in other words, the good behavior clause simply indicates that judges are not appointed to their seats for set terms and cannot be removed at will. Removing a federal judge requires impeachment and conviction for a high crime or misdemeanor. The judiciary treated these words as ceremonial, assuming that they guaranteed immunity from all consequences save impeachment. But impeachment was designed as a last resort, not sole remedy. The Chase impeachment failed because it targeted political disagreement. Today's crisis isn't about disagreement, it's about systematic betrayal. Judges commanding presidents to fund family interests, judicial families embedding themselves in agencies they oversee, evidence vanishing hours before investigators arrive. The founders understood this darkness would come. They knew power seduces, authority corrupts, and black robes can conceal darker purposes. That's why Article 3, Section 1 exists. From the Constitution, Article 3, Section 1, the judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court, and in such inferior courts as the Congress may from time to time ordain and establish. The judges, both of the Supreme and inferior courts, shall hold their offices during good behavior and shall at stated times receive for their services a compensation which shall not be diminished during their continuance in office. It's not an escape clause. It's a kill switch. And now, for the first time since ratification, that switch has been thrown. The mechanism. The remedy was encoded in plain text. The judges shall hold their offices during good behavior. 27 words that shatter the illusion of absolute power, because ordering taxpayer waste to continue isn't good behavior. Commanding evidence destruction isn't good behavior. Using judicial authority to shield family interests isn't good behavior. The machine never anticipated this out-of-the-box vector. They fortified against impeachment, prepared for political warfare, constructed elaborate defenses against traditional threats. But they never fortified against the Constitution itself. Watch the cascade as this reality detonates. Judges protecting fraud forfeit their authority. Orders to continue corruption lose legal force. Commands to destroy evidence become void on arrival. Elon Musk's latest poll shows how people feel about the situation. Elon Musk on X asks, federal judges who repeatedly abuse their authority to obstruct the will of the people via their elected representatives should be impeached. 87.1% say yes. Observe their desperate countermoves. A Rhode Island judge claims power over presidential authority while losing his own. A Massachusetts judge mandates waste continuation as his orders lose force. A D.C. judge conceals family ties while exposing deeper system corruption. But Article 3, Section 1 remains indifferent to their motives, unmoved by their connections, unswayed by their desperation. It measures only one metric: behavior. And that behavior has crossed the constitutional threshold. The founders didn't promise them perpetual power. They promised them accountability. Today, that promise comes due. Because when judges actively shield systematic fraud, they reveal more than corruption. They reveal terror. The last defense. The machine's final bulwark isn't wearing a badge or carrying a gun. It's wearing a robe. But black cloth can't conceal what Doge just exposed. McConnell's $700,000 purchasing judicial authority, Bates concealing USAID connections while blocking reform, federal judges ordering evidence destruction within hours of discovery, systematic protection of overhead rates that would collapse private enterprise, each revelation more damning than the last, each order more desperate, each judge forgetting what the founders understood with crystal clarity. Power corrupts, authority seduces, darkness hides behind ceremony. That's why they wrote good behavior instead of lifetime appointment. Not a mistake, not an oversight, a precisely engineered failsafe. Now, watch as that constitutional mechanism activates with mathematical precision. A judge orders presidential compliance and loses authority. Another mandates continued waste and forfeits jurisdiction. A third conceals family ties and reveals systemic decay. A judiciary believed itself untouchable, the power absolute, its position unassailable. But Article 3, Section 1 remains indifferent to belief, unmoved by position, unswayed by desperate maneuvers. It measures only behavior. Today, that measure is complete. Because while judges may issue the orders, the Constitution delivers the final verdict. And it never loses. That's the article. I enjoyed that very, very much. It was very well written. Nevertheless, it did not describe the mechanism. Mechanism is how you remove them, not when do they get removed. When do they cross the threshold? That's great. It's EKO loves you on Twitter. EKO loves you on Twitter. I'm not seeing a mechanism there, y'all. Now, I saw that I could probably do like a, could I do like a, what do you call it? Could I do an article from I Don't Exist Tor? I don't like her. She said nasty things about me. She said nasty things about everybody, probably. Nevertheless, I think I'm gonna go ahead and check out. I want to read this article on the judicial problem, because the judicial problem is our problem. We have a complete rogue judiciary just destroying us from the bottom up. Hey, Jarhead Pig, $5. who says, I watched you on YouTube way before Badlands existed. While I'm a Badlands fan, your breakaway has to be freeing for you. Now you can just read and be the lotion king. All the best, Patrick. Thank you so much, Jarhead Pig. Yeah, I can just read and be the lotion king. And I'm going to tell you all right now. Epic Moisture Creamy Body Butter is absolutely incredible. If you haven't got your hands on it, what are you waiting for? You gotta get it now, because if you don't, you're gonna have to wait till after summer, or you're going to have to come to this new retail location of Tulip Blooms. So go to tulipblooms.shop, use promo code Shapiro, get the aloe and cucumber amazing gel cleanser, which I've just started using, and it's amazing. You got to check out our 5-star reviews, which we are absolutely crawling with. tulipblooms.shop, promo code Shapiro. Promo code Shapiro. Okay, so I have this whole crap. Where is it? Okay, sorry. Okay. Where did I put it? I'm going to read this article because he says it's brilliant. The Good Behavior Clause Doctrine. Fail. There it is. Okay, so should we just do it? Now, this is from torsays.com. So, I'm not a fan, but I think we really need to explore this problem with the judiciary. So, it's an 11-minute read. So, how bad could it be? Beyond the FBI and DOJ, it's the judges who must answer. This is not just about January 6th. It is about the future of the republic. If the judiciary is lost to partisanship, there is no recourse left. If we fail to act, we will have surrendered the last institution capable of defending the American people from government abuses. The judiciary is on trial, and if justice is to be served, the judges who have betrayed their oath must be the first to face judgment. Stop chasing shadows. The real target is the judiciary. The media, political pundits, and every thirsty social media influencer, desperate for clout, what am I blushing, have fixated on the wrong villains. They gleefully dissect the latest disgraced FBI agent, call for the heads of overzealous prosecutors, and act as if exposing mid-level government operatives is some grand reckoning. How utterly pedestrian. I feel compelled to write this article due to the sheer spectacle of misplaced outrage. Social media warriors and self-proclaimed pundits are tripping over themselves to condemn FBI agents and prosecutors as if they're the masterminds pulling the strings. How adorably misguided. Do you really think these career bureaucrats have the final say, desperately clawing their way up the SES ladder? No, darlings. The real power, the true enablers of this judicial circus sit in robes, not badges. They wear robes, not badges. Let's be clear. FBI agents and DOJ prosecutors are foot soldiers playing their parts in a script they did not write. Their ambitions are transparent. Career advancement, political favor, a shot at the ever-elusive SES club. They execute orders, twist laws when instructed, and carry out politically motivated prosecutions with an obedient nod. But their power? It is entirely borrowed. The real culprits, the true enablers of this judicial catastrophe are the judges, the men and women in robes, had every opportunity to stop this madness, but instead chose complicity. The ones who denied bail for nonviolent defendants, the ones who handed down grotesquely disproportionate sentences to make a political example, the ones who turned the courts into a battlefield, not for justice, but for vengeance. Yet, rather than demanding their removal, the media and their social media lapdogs continue their performance art, chasing lesser players while leaving the true architects untouched. It's performative outrage at its finest, and it's pathetically ineffective. If you want real accountability, stop gnawing at the edges. Go for the throat. The judiciary is the final safeguard, the last check on government overreach. Take them down, and the rest will fall in line. For too long, the focus has been misdirected. The public scrutinizes prosecutors, law enforcement, and the Department of Justice. But the true guardians of justice, the judges, have escaped the accountability they so richly deserve. The judiciary has long been America's last bastion of impartiality, standing apart from the political entanglements of the executive and legislative branches. It symbolizes balance, reason, and fairness, a body upholding constitutional values in turbulent times. But what happens when that impartiality erodes, when the judiciary is no longer the safeguard of justice, but a weapon wielded in service of political directives? The January 6th prosecutions have become a defining moment in American judicial history, exposing the extent to which courts have become complicit in politically motivated lawfare. The disproportionate sentences handed down, the suicides of defendants driven to despair by an unjust system, and the blatant overreach by the courts in service of a broader agenda have raised a fundamental question. Has the judiciary crossed the line into political enforcement? The real culprits, judges who betray their oath. It is expected that prosecutors will follow the directives above. It is the nature of the chain of command. The beat cop follows the chief's orders. The FBI agent executes the will of the deputy attorney general. Those within the ranks are often more concerned with career advancement than ethical considerations. They chase promotions, striving to enter the senior executive service, SES, club. They want prestige, power, and recognition. This is how institutions become politicized, not through a grand conspiracy, but through a culture of compliance and self-interest. None of this absolves them from wrongdoing. It does not mean they should not be held accountable, but the real blame, the most severe consequences, must fall upon the judges. The individuals tasked with interpreting the law independently, safeguarding constitutional rights, and resisting political pressures have instead become enforcers of politically motivated punishment. They have abdicated their duty, mocking the judiciary's intended role as an impartial check on government overreach. The judiciary is the linchpin. Sever it, and the rest collapse under the weight of their own hubris. Stop playing at justice. Strike where it matters. The judiciary's political collapse, January 6th as a case study. January 6th defendants have been subjected to unprecedented judicial aggression. Many were held in solitary confinement. Some were denied bail for minor, non-violent infractions. Others faced sentencing so extreme that it violated any reasonable standard of proportionality. Among the most egregious cases, Guy Reffitt, sentenced to over 7 years in prison despite never even entering the Capitol. His crime? Standing outside and allegedly encouraging others. Jacob Chansley, the QAnon shaman, a nonviolent defendant sentenced to 41 months in federal prison. His primary offense? Entering the Capitol unarmed and posing for photos. Matthew Perna, driven to suicide after pleading guilty and facing years in prison for peacefully walking through the Capitol. These sentences were not merely overzealous, they are malicious. They are designed to send a message and serve as deterrence, not through fair application of the law, but through intimidation and vengeance. This is the antithesis of justice. Judges who participated in these rulings were not interpreting the law, they were executing a political directive. A judiciary that has forsaken its purpose. Historically, the American judiciary has stumbled before in times of political pressure. Korematsu v. United States, 1944, the Supreme Court upheld the internment of Japanese Americans, an unconscionable violation of civil rights, simply because the government told them it was necessary. The McCarthy-era witch hunts. Courts enabled politically motivated prosecutions of suspected communists, destroying lives in the name of ideological conformity. Post 9/11 detentions. Many detainees were held indefinitely without trial under judicial acquiescence, later revealed to be entirely innocent. Now, on January 6th, prosecutions have entered that same shameful lineage. A judiciary that once prided itself on impartiality now bends the knee to political winds, handing down rulings that mirror the will of the regime rather than the principles of the Constitution. The judiciary serves as the cornerstone of justice, entrusted with the responsibility to interpret laws impartially and uphold constitutional principles. However, instances of judicial misconduct can erode public trust and compromise the integrity of the legal system. While mechanisms exist to address such misconduct, challenges persist in holding judges accountable. Judicial misconduct and accountability. Judicial misconduct encompasses actions that deviate from the ethical standards expected of judges, including bias, abuse of authority, or inappropriate behavior. Addressing such misconduct is crucial to maintaining the judiciary's credibility. For instance, in 2019, the Michigan Supreme Court removed Judge Teresa M. Brennan from the bench due to multiple acts of misconduct, including failing to disclose a relationship with a police detective involved in a case before her court. Despite such actions, a 2020 Reuters investigation revealed that thousands of U.S. judges who violated laws or ethical standards remained on the bench, often receiving lenient disciplinary measures. This leniency underscores concerns about the effectiveness of existing oversight mechanisms. Historical context and the imperative of judicial independence. Judicial independence is foundational to the U.S. legal system, ensuring judges can make decisions free from political pressures. Historically, challenges to this independence have arisen. For example, during the 1930s, President Franklin D. Roosevelt proposed the Judicial Procedures Reform Bill of 1937, aiming to add more justices to the U.S. Supreme Court. This move was perceived as an attempt to obtain favorable rulings for New Deal legislation, highlighting the tension between the executive branch and judicial independence. Concerns have been raised about the politicization of the judiciary in contemporary times. An article in The Atlantic, when it was doing good work, discussed the potential erosion of judicial independence due to political influences, emphasizing the need to uphold the judiciary's impartiality to maintain public confidence. The judiciary's role and its unique obligation. By the way, I'm hearing a lot of complaining about the problem. What's the mechanism? The judiciary occupies a distinct role in the U.S. government. While the executive and legislative branches are inherently political, encumbered by party allegiances and electoral concerns, the judiciary is intended to rise above. The Constitution's ultimate safeguard is a final check and balance against tyranny. Federal judges and life tenure. Federal judges enjoy life tenure, a provision meant to insulate them from political pressures. Yet, recent controversies suggest that even this safeguard is not enough. Judges have increasingly been accused of aligning with political interests rather than upholding impartiality. If judicial decisions begin to reflect the influence of external forces, how long can trust in the system endure? Where are the oversight bodies? I'm starting to get the feeling this is going to be, we're drowning and she's going to describe the water. Yeah. I don't know what to say. She's just, yeah. Okay. Yeah. The path forward. Here we go. The path forward, addressing the corruption in the Attorney General's office. This is bigger than Trump. If Letitia James is allowed to abuse her office to target an individual based on political bias, then what stops other attorneys general from doing the same? Congress and the courts must act swiftly. 1. Launch an immediate ethics investigation into James's misconduct. Pursue disbarment proceedings for violating prosecutorial ethics. Ensure legal safeguards are put in place to prevent future... Come on, dude. What's the mechanism? Letitia James is not a public servant. She's a part. Yeah, we know. Yeah, it's a bad problem. Holding judges accountable. I don't know what to tell you. All right. This, I don't know what to tell you guys. I'm sorry. These solutions are not going to help. Yeah, we're going to need sterner stuff than the solutions being offered here. Nevertheless, I very much enjoyed some of that piece. Yeah, Jarhead Pig points out, I cannot stand Ben Shapiro. I hate Ben Shapiro. But if you're going to shill like a shiller should, shill like a Shapiro. And that's why it is promo code Shapiro. Yeah, I kind of stole that joke from Owen Benjamin. Yeah, why Shapiro? People are asking in the, yeah. Okay. That is a show and a half. I can't believe I just went 2 hours. What's wrong with me? Hey, do me a favor. Hit the thumbs up on this video. I've got, if I'm calculating correctly, over 500 watching on Twitter and 2 watching on YouTube. And then you wonderful, you magnificent people, almost 300 watching on Rumble. Hit the thumbs up on Rumble, the positive affirmation button. I would like to give a big thank you to people who sent super chats, including Corey DD84, $15. Patrick, you rock. I'm looking forward to you starting this new path. Your realness is rare, brother. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Like more than you know. So let's talk about going forward. Don't forget, you can find me. If you go to YouTube, you can find me reading epic threads. That's a lost cause. But you can also find me on Twitter, pgunnels1. You can find me on Rumble, pgunnels, and my growing platform on Substack is simply readingepicthreads.substack.com, readingepicthreads.substack.com. And now I'm going to go see how the progress on my computer being built is. And I thank all of you for being here. This show will go live 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 or 7 days a week. It won't always be actually live. I'm going to try to do more of these, though. This was a lot of fun. I really like having you in the chat, guys. This is really cool. And those of you on Substack, I'm going to figure out how to get the chat for you as well. When Joe Lange comes out with his piece, I will be doing it immediately. So there's that as well. Saturday, right? All right. All right. Hey, love everybody. Let us pray. Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle. Be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, cast into hell Satan and all evil spirits who prowl about the world, seeking the ruin of souls. Amen. I love you all. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you tomorrow.
I will be the greatest president that God ever created.